Hi, I'm Carol Baskin, and this is Cat Chat 47 with Karma Herworth. And she is an intern here at Big Cat Rescue. And tell us your age, because that's kind of what's unique about you being an intern.
So I just turned 53.
Wow. Well, you just barely are older than me then. I turned 53 in June. You know, most of the interns who come here are 19, 20, around that age, and they're just leaving home for the first time. So I'm really curious what brings out a woman of our age to do this back-breaking labor every day.
I think I probably at 53 or 52 at the time finally decided what I wanted to do when I grew up. Which, a few years ago I really got interested in working with big cats and their conservation. And I heard of Big Cat Rescue probably 4 or 5 years ago, and I saw that intern program, and I was immediately, I want to do this.
Wow.
The time wasn't right. At the time I was working full-time, and I was thinking, oh, my cats, I can't very well quit my job. But then circumstances happened. I got laid off of my job a couple of years ago.
Oh, dear.
And so I went back to school for veterinary medicine. And then in September, I lost my financial aid. So
Wow.
after I finished being angry about it, I thought, wow, now's a great time to apply for that internship I've been dreaming about.
Oh, my goodness. What kind of work did you do before?
So I'm a veterinary technician. I still hold my license. I got licensed in 2005, and I've been in the veterinary business for 18 years.
Wow, I did not know that. I'm always surprised at how overqualified our people are. And what part of the world are you from?
So Central Oregon.
It's probably a lot colder there than it is here.
It is a lot colder, and as I see friends' social media pages, it's with great relief that I am here, even in weather like yesterday. I would so much rather deal with that than, I believe some of it's melted now, but the couple feet of snow that Bend has, it's high desert ski resort kind of town, so it does get snow.
And you say it's called Bend?
Wintertime Bend, B-E-N-D.
Oh my. I can't believe some of the images that I've seen over the past year with the snowstorms people have had.
It's crazy.
Mm.
So I don't love the snow or cold weather, and I never really learned to do any of the winter sports. I don't enjoy those. So
what led you to Oregon?
So
if you weren't into winter sports.
Family moved there. And there was also, at the time, I was a competitive endurance rider, which is long distance horse racing.
Really?
Yes.
Didn't know that was a sport.
And
how long is long distance?
It is increments of 25 miles.
Wow.
And so there's 25, 50, 75, and 100-mile races. And I participated in 100 miles. At some points, and I actually went to national championships in the 50-mile category a few years ago.
Just a few years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's impressive.
More than a few. Let's see, when was that? That have been about 2000. Somewhere there, so it was more than a few years ago.
14 years ago.
Yes.
Did you own the horses, or how does that work?
Yes. I care leased my first one. And
I don't know what that means.
That is where I take care of it and pay for all of the horse's care, paid for the travel, paid for the ride fees, etc. But I didn't own the horse outright. I didn't have her papers and didn't purchase her. And then when I moved to Oregon, the friend that I had been care leasing her from gave her to me as a gift.
Wow.
And after I got out of the endurance riding, I wanted to keep the circle of giving. So she was 18 at the time and didn't need somebody of my size riding on her. So she's now a therapy horse.
Oh, nice.
For a young girl.
Nice. What got you involved in endurance riding?
I loved horses. I grew up loving all animals, but I loved horses. My grandfather had a racehorse farm, actually. And so I grew up being around the horses and loved them, much to my father's horror, because my grandfather's racehorses were bred for speed, not personality. They were pretty mean, and my dad, who had to take care of them, grew up kind of hating horses, so he was a little bit horrified when he realized that I loved horses, but they got me ponies. And then I had a horse as I got older and went to college and kind of got away from the horse thing, but after a while then got into endurance riding until it got too expensive, and interestingly enough I started feeling it was a bit too cruel. I'm very much against animal cruelty of any kind, and my feeling was I started pushing the horses faster, and world championships, a lot of them were coming up seriously injured, even dying, and I really didn't want to be a part of that.
Yeah, I know how stuff like that starts. Like, I love cats, and so I was breeding show cats.
Mm-hmm.
But the standard just got so extreme that I felt like that's just cruel. We shouldn't be breeding these animals to such an awful extreme. These were Persians with little flat faces.
Mm-hmm.
And so eventually I stopped breeding, and then, of course, I learned over the next 30 years about all of these cats dying in shelters, and it was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I was ever a part of that. So I know what it's like to kind of go through that evolution of thought.
Exactly.
Is Karma your name or your chosen name?
It is my name from my parents.
Really?
And a lot of people ask if my parents were hippies, but again, referring to the age, my mother named me after a college friend of hers. Spelled
really?
The same way, and that person was born in the 30s. So I'm not sure where her parents came up with that. And, they knew nothing of the good karma, bad karma. They just thought it was pretty.
I think it's beautiful, especially with the connotation that it brings along with it. I think you're... I would imagine, with that being your name, you're like reminded daily of how karma affects all of us.
Yes, yeah, and I enjoy my name now. When I was a small child, I hated it because people couldn't get it right.
Oh,
they would say, "Are you sure that's your name, dear? Or is it Carla or Carmela or Carmen?" And I would come home crying and say, "Why didn't you just name me Mary?"
Well, I'm glad they named you Karma. Oh, gosh. When you say you came across the Big Cat Rescue website, what were you looking for at the time? Do you remember?
I absolutely do, because a lot of us learn from our mistakes. And one thing that I had done was gone to a petting zoo because I wanted to pet a cub. That was just, I loved big cats so much. And I went to this, what wound up being an awful place on the Oregon coast, and it just something, I got to pet the cubs, but I went away from that feeling sick. There was something about it so wrong. We pulled into the parking lot, I could smell the feces, the cages were so small, the animals just had hollow, unhappy looks in their eyes. And my mother made a couple comments. She had gone with me and said, those cats were looking right at you. And I was thinking those cats were asking me for help at the risk of sounding a little nuts. So I came home.
You're talking to me about sounding a little nuts.
So I came home and started doing research on petting zoos and what happened, and came across Big Cat Rescue. And then a few years later, then you helped me actually write a letter to the USDA. I went back to that place only for the sake of writing up a report for them.
Oh, wow. I had forgotten all about that. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, so...
well, thank you for doing that, because most people see a situation like that and they walk away shaking their head and saying, wow, that's really too bad. It takes an awful lot of guts to put your name on the line and say, I saw this and I think it's wrong, because those people are vicious.
Yeah, and I think I learned why, because sometimes I look back and go, why did I get an acting degree for my first degree? And, that's sometimes going to some of those places is the most difficult acting job I have to do, because I walk there, I look interested in what they're doing, and I ask the questions and try to keep a straight face and not look horror-struck.
The whole time I know I'm always saying, face, don't fail me now. Are they going to see that my eyes are just burning holes through them? Wow. So acting too. That's interesting.
Yes, I was bound, bit determined. I thought I wanted to be an actress. I'm very careful now of how I talk to kids because I wanted to be a veterinarian when I was younger, and I had a school counselor when I was older. I don't think you've got the grades for that, but you're very pretty if you thought of modeling. Now, a lot of people might be flattered at being told they're pretty, but if you've ever looked at my stature, this stature is not a model, because I'm too short and I'm not thin enough. And so, I kind of set myself on a course of thinking I was dumb and trying to lose too much weight to be a model. And I've always been comfortable public speaking and in front of people, and so I thought, yeah, I'm going to be an actress. Can't model, I can act.
Wow.
And I enjoyed it. I majored in school. I did quite a bit of school productions and that kind of thing, but of course the reality of actually being able to make a living.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
Why is it so hard to make a living at the things we really love to do?
Yes.
But you found a use for it, so that made it all worth your time and effort.
I believe there's a reason we do everything and why things happen. And
so do I. Wow. So you applied for your internship when you saw it?
Yes.
And tell me what that process was like, because I'm not involved in how interns actually get here.
My first thought was, they will never pick me because of my age, but I can't not try. And so I went ahead and went through the application process, filled out the online application, and gathered together my letters of recommendation.
Little did you know that your age was a bonus. Like, thank goodness, somebody we don't have to teach how to clean her own dishes or make her bed, because she's never done it in her life.
I do know how to do that. And got the letters of recommendation together, and then Chelsea contacted me to come for an interview, and the first available weekend, which was the weekend before Thanksgiving, I flew down.
Wow.
And that went really well. The only tense part was I missed one of my connecting flights on the way.
Oh no.
Over, but they still
And that's
got
a horrible time to fly, right before Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah, it was busy, and that was when there were the storms in Texas, and that was where my layover was. But they still got me on a plane. I just got there later that night and arrived Saturday morning for the interview, and I job shadowed and did a couple tours and stayed in the barn.
Were there other interns in the barn at the time?
Yes, Brittany, who was at the time level 4, and Philip and Emily, who were at the time level 1s.
So Philip and Emily are still here, right? Or Emily just left?
Emily just left, yeah, and Philip's back as a 2. And a couple foster kittens.
Which kittens did you have?
Which, this is embarrassing. I'm not sure. Captain Morgan was one of them.
Oh,
and I'm not
okay.
sure I remember the others.
Sometimes they get moved around a bit.
Yeah, but I love that. So I had lap buddies that night. And then the next morning I came and did another tour and had an interview with Gail and was released, and I felt real comfortable about the interview. But I felt so connected to this place, I cried all the way back to the motel. I was, when something just feels right, or you feel a connection, and I was like, I just have to get picked. And I did, when I wrote my cover letter, I did address my age right away and assured people that I'm physically fit. I've done boot camp instructing. I actually did roller derby for 3 years. So I know how to fall if I trip over a root.
Oh, that's a good skill set to have here, given the number of roots.
And so then I think Chelsea notified me, I think the day after I got back, that I'd been selected. So
nice. And then after you were selected, how long before you actually came?
I found out 2 days before Thanksgiving that I was selected, and I arrived, well, I left December 30th because I drove here.
From Oregon?
Yes.
What kind of car?
It's a little Corolla, Toyota Corolla Sport that I absolutely love.
Even after that drive?
I did. I think I loved that car more after that drive because it did so well for me.
Oh.
But I really wanted to keep the car and be able to help other interns with transportation because I knew a lot of them were from foreign countries and may not have a car.
How nice of you to do that. Oh my goodness.
And my best friends who are in law enforcement for my Christmas gift gave me a police grade GPS system, and he programmed it for me the whole trip.
Oh, that's nice. They had to know that this was something really important to you.
Yeah, they do. So, and it took me about a week to drive down. I left on a Sunday afternoon and arrived here on a Saturday night, so I had a couple days to decompress, familiarize myself with the area a little bit, although I don't know how much good that did with my driving skills and not getting lost even with the GPS.
Everything around here is always torn up. The roads are always under construction, so it doesn't matter how well you memorize something, it's going to be different next year because all the roads are going to be moved.
Well, and another interesting thing was that U-turns are illegal in Oregon. And I was driving.
You have to make one every day here to get in.
They just do. Could they do that? So now I'm slowly getting comfortable making them, because you're right, just in order to get anywhere you have to.
Even our front entrance, there's no way to get in there without making a U-turn. Mm. When you drove from Oregon, what was your route, and did you do any sightseeing along the way, or were you like pedal to the metal?
I pretty much pedaled to the metal. The weather was very bad at the time, and
I guess it would be December 31st.
Yeah. And my friends who made the route for me, it was a couple extra 100 miles, but they actually took me straight south to get out of it. So I went
that was smart.
down through Nevada. There was only one place that would potentially have snow. There was one pass and it was clear. And then I just went straight down south and then drove basically along, Arizona and Texas, and stayed down south, and of course went through Grosstat and got those pictures of Tony.
Oh, yes.
And then wound up in Tampa. So I didn't do any sightseeing. I don't see really great at night, and so I don't like to drive at night. And there wasn't a lot of daylight, so I pretty much kept the pedal to the metal.
I would imagine some of those Midwestern states have got to be like mind-numbingly...
Oh, desolate.
It's like one more cactus and I'm just falling asleep.
Exactly, and nothing, and then these sad little signs that would say no gas for 90 miles.
Oh,
So
good to get the
fill up
Corolla. So what was it like moving in with probably a bunch of people that were in their teens and 20s?
So, it was, all of the roommates I've had were really great. I started in the Serval and had Nancy and Meshi, who's from Hungary. So getting to know people of different cultures has been awesome. And we got along great, and then I recently moved so that I could help care for the foster kittens.
Nobody wants to be in the Serval because it's a rented property and we're not allowed to have kittens or cats over there, so they can't wait to get into the on-site housing.
So they moved me into the Modland, and that's with Lauren and Joe and Aaron, all upper-level interns, which has been awesome. I think have started maybe picking up a bit of a British accent living with them. But it goes really great. If they want to stay up, which they do, I find that they probably think I'm a deadbeat because I'm ready to go to bed between 9:30 and 10. But I can sleep through just about anything.
Well, that's good.
And so it's been really great. And the Mod, when we work really well together, we have a house meeting when we're going to clean and
Aren't you guys organized over there? I've been so shocked to come in and see, it seems like most of the houses have like a whiteboard and they'll say, okay, this person is time to do dishes and this person's time to clean, and I've just been so impressed that everybody is that organized in doing that.
Yeah, right now our whiteboard has the kitten feedings on.
Yeah, that kind of takes precedence. There may be more whiteboards in here if you want to steal one. When we bought the land from the guy that we're renting the serval from, we didn't buy the serval, but we bought the property on this side. And his big question at the closing was, in your intern housing, I know you have a lot of people in there from like a lot of different countries. How do they manage the food? To him, that was just the biggest question, is how do you manage cooking together when you probably come from very different backgrounds and different food preferences? And so how do you guys manage the food?
A lot of us cook our own food.
Just individual?
I tend to be more of an organic, healthy food, although a lot of it's the organic frozen meals, because I tend to not want to cook once I'm home. I just, okay, throw it in the microwave here. And a couple of my roommates like pizza a lot. I like pizza too. Occasionally
I'd be 300 pounds if I eat pizza every night. I don't know how they pack away so much pizza.
Maybe because we're busy working.
That's true. You guys, we were watching the tree trimmers today, Gail and I were, and they were hauling the branches that they had cut. And I said, you know, if the interns were doing that, they'd have been done 10 minutes ago. They got 6 guys that got on the clock to move those branches, and they weren't doing anywhere near the job you guys do.
So the physical work here has helped me with that a lot, because, you know, as we get older, the metabolism slows down a little bit, and I did a lot of running before I came here, but I get home and I'm too tired. So, but all the physical work has been, I put on a pair of shorts the other day that I thought were too small, and they were actually, the radio was pulling them down by the end of the day, so.
That's a nice feeling.
I was like, that's a great thing.
Tell me what your work day looks like. When you get up, how you get ready for work, what you do in the course of the day.
So, well, I'm one of these people who like to get up early because I don't like to be rushed, so I'll get up between 5:30 and 6.
That is just wrong. The sun's not up yet.
Which is probably why I like to go to bed between 9:30 and 10.
That makes sense now.
And I like to fix my tea, and then I get on the computer and look at the updates and the email. And once in a while, if I feel like I have time, I'll check Facebook or whatever. And then if I'm assigned kitten feeding that morning, I feed the kittens. And then I put on my clothes and eat breakfast, pack a lunch, and I generally don't bother with the shower in the morning. That's saved for after
It's pointless then.
Come home from work. And then if I'm doing operant, I head in at 7:30, which I absolutely love doing. That's been kind of one of my new loves, is the operant conditioning.
You know, I was coming in for a while and watching everybody as they were going out for operant, and I haven't done that in months and months and months. So how is that going? Are there still a lot of people doing it?
Sometimes there are, sometimes there's not. I was the only one that came in this morning.
Oh, wow.
And then I think it depends on the day, because sometimes there's so many people, there's almost not enough cats to spread the operant to.
Is it the difference between weekday and weekend, or is it something else that's affecting that?
I think maybe a little bit difference between weekend and weekday. I know Saturdays tends to be kind of a light day for people to show. Today might have been, maybe people thought since it was raining, it wouldn't have been a good day. The first thing when I saw Gail is, are we still doing operant? She goes, oh yeah, only if it's like 40 degrees or less. We won't.
I guess everybody was expecting to be slogging around in the mud to get to the cages, because it has been raining.
Yeah, a lot. So, and then we come in, and then after operant, we come in and check in at 8 o'clock. And if we've got kittens, we drop them off at the kitten cabana to spend the day with the other kittens. Now they're mixing with their litter mates.
And how old are they?
They're about 5 weeks old now.
Oh, what a cute age.
Yes, they're adorable, and they're fun. They're wrestling, and they're learning to eat the wet food and cover us with the wet food and swim in the wet food. and go potty in the potty box. And it's really fun, and they're playing together and responding to toys and and snuggling. So that is a really, really fun time to spend with them. But we drop them off at the Kitten Cabana, and then when we check in, we do chores. And sometimes it's feeding the omnivores, which is the Binturongs and the Jennet and Civet. Or we,
Does the Jennet, does he come over for that, or do you just have to leave the food for him?
Oh, he's very happy to come get his. He's in the omnivore category, but he gets a chick or a neck, and he's anxiously awaiting that.
I was thinking the other day, I don't know anything about Jennets except that this one has lived an extraordinarily long time. I would never have dreamed that a little mouse-size animal could live so long.
We affectionately call him the leopard weasel. I don't know if you've heard that term.
That's what he looks like.
He's adorable, and I actually did operant with him a couple weeks ago, and he was a perfect gentleman and adorable. But so we do that, and we somebody hauls the backpacks to the volunteer sign-in where we keep our lunches in backpacks and put out the tour.
So do you guys walk in, or do you all have enough carts now?
So some of us walk in. Most of us walk in, and those of us with kittens take the golf carts. And then Gail gives us our assignments, whether it's cleaning or doing a tour that happens to be that morning or some kind of project. And we work on that until we're done. Cleaning this morning was a little bit interesting because we had some of our faucets weren't working yet. We didn't have the power.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
So
wow.
We had to leave those lockouts until we get the power back.
Were any of them working?
Yes. Yes, it was just the ones towards the staff offices that weren't working. So we clean the enclosures, we do tours, and then we break for lunch. And then usually the afternoons, other than Thursdays, which is a project day since we're closed, usually the afternoons then are tour time, and might have a little bit of time to do some projects or some enrichment before we need to be at the gift shop for tours. But then afternoon is dedicated to tours or projects if we're not on tours. And then feeding.
And are you feeding now?
Yes.
What levels are you allowed to feed, and how do you progress through that as an intern?
I can feed the littles, and we get to pick one feeding section per internship, as I've been told as an incentive to apply for level 2 and 3. And I chose Little Back, and I love it because I have a soft spot for Back because Back is where I started cleaning first. So I kind of got to know those cats, and it's a great chance to see some of the bobcats you don't really get to see.
Yeah, you see everybody at feeding time, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. When you say littles, what kind of cats are you talking about?
So that is the Siberian lynx on down. The one Siberian lynx, Natasha, on down. The Apollo and Zeus, the other two are actually a green shirt level because of the way they need to be fed. One of them kind of hogs his food, and the other one eats very slow. So that needs some observation before we can feed that. And then the Canadian lynx are fed by upper levels too that we can feed.
I didn't know that. Are they difficult?
So I think it's not difficult as much as where they are. They're located right next to the cougars, which is a change-off area to the level ones.
That makes sense.
And in order to feed, we observe for 3 feedings, and then we observe for 3 feedings, and then if we've completed that satisfactory, we're signed off. And it was very helpful for me. There's always an option to pull the cart at feeding before we can start feeding. We can intern for 1 or 2 days if we want to. And pulling the carts gave me a lot of opportunity to see different feeders feed and observe how they feed and learn who was in the back, center, and front, so I could be familiar with the different sections.
Wow. Well, that shows some incentive. Because That's just got to be boring as all get out to be just standing out there with the food cart waiting for somebody to come back and get more food off of it.
Oh, I always loved it. I would always hope that either somebody would ask me to pull the cart, or I'd say, "Do you need somebody to pull your cart?"
And then after feeding, what do you do then?
So after feeding, we come back and clean up, and if there's still a couple of projects, like last Thursday before the March for Lions, we had a lot of work to do to get the place ready, so we came back and worked till almost dark.
I saw people, interns out there working till dark, painting barricades and doing all kinds of stuff that you guys don't usually do after feeding. But it looked nice for the March of Lions.
I thought it looked great, and that's very rewarding to come in and clean something and see it looking great and clean.
And to be appreciated by so many people that came through that just got rave reviews.
Oh, that's awesome. But normally then we just go home after feeding, after we've cleaned up from feeding, except on Wednesday nights there's the option to go to enrichment.
Do you do that?
Yes.
Really? Tired as you are, you still go do that?
I try to go to all of the enrichments, except for I tend to be lazy on my day off. I don't go on. But yeah, last Wednesday I got to work with Willow and make the blood sickles and the Sardini martinis for the March for Lions.
Nice. Those were great. I swapped blood all over myself getting those out of the bucket. They were perfect.
But enrichment's great. I mean, a lot of times I am tired, but it's so much fun to see the cats get things that you worked on.
I bet.
And it's also an opportunity to get to know some of the people that you don't normally see. Somebody besides interns. We have a lot of volunteers come. The Hollies come that make the platforms. Thank you. And so they're a lot of fun to talk with. And
they are fun.
And some of the partners that we normally don't work with very much, we get to talk with too. So it's a great time to get to know some other people too.
I'm really hoping now that the e-center is out in the parking lot that more people will come. It was kind of a hassle before because you had to like show up exactly at the right time to be able to get shuffled out there and shuffled back. But now that they can kind of come and go a little bit more freely, I'm hoping. You know what I guess we need in there is a place for you guys to log in and log out, though. I didn't think about that.
Oh, well, I know that they're moving the computer area from the gift shop is going to be moved over there, and there might be a login area.
Well, I've moved 3 of the computers so far. I just forgot to put the login on anything. Note to self. Also, there's a drop cam in there that I need to move because somebody has now put a big rolling cabinet up in front of it. Whoops. But it's a public camera, so any of our supporters can log on and see you guys making stuff. If they know that it's going to be at 7:30 or whatever time, then they can just log on and watch you guys. They can't hear you because Willow said she'd rather you guys be able to speak freely, but at least they'll be able to watch the stuff that you're doing
and see how much fun we're having.
Yeah. That'll be great.
Yeah, we're, well, I made the blood sickles last time, but the time before we were making paper mache eggs for Easter time to give to the cats.
You say you get a day off. What do you do on your day off?
I sleep in. That's the first priority. Is there something about that no alarm clock? And a lot of times if I have to do errands, I will, but a lot of times I like to stay home and I get cleaning chores done, and sometimes watch TV, because generally when I turn it on I start falling asleep. And I'm really interested. I just got signed off in enrichment, and I'm also really interested in coming and helping hand out enrichment on my days off, because sometimes that gets busy.
Do you know how often they're handing it out now?
She tries every day, unless things get crazy, and I know with getting ready for March for Lions that it kind of got put to the side a little bit, but we handed out some today, and of course days like yesterday we don't.
Because it was pouring and the wind was blowing. It was crazy. I just can't get over what a difference a day makes in the weather here. The last 2 days were just awful, and today it couldn't be prettier.
I expected it. Well, when the radio woke me up, I heard him say, "Oh, the rain shouldn't be going away." I'm like, "Oh, it's still raining." But then when I got out, it clearly wasn't.
It's raining somewhere. Well, I'm glad to hear that the enrichment's being handled out that frequently. I know when we started, we agreed we would do it once a week, and then we built ourselves up to twice a week, and then we tried for every day, but I know sometimes every day is a tough thing to meet because there's just so much stuff going on.
Yeah, so I thought, well, if I can help with that, and I really, really enjoy that, and the cats do too. So
Yes, they love it. In fact, I was shocked today. They needed Marie needed to get the medications into Shere Khan, and they were able to give China Doll something. I didn't see what it was, but she was having so much fun with it. She totally ignored the fact that he was getting treats, which is a hard thing to do because they were locked in that small section together while they were doing the tree trimming. So whatever enrichment that was, it was good stuff.
So I didn't see what that was.
I didn't either. She was just rolling and had it all scrunched in underneath her. So I was curious, but should have asked somebody. Where do you plan to go from here? What happens next?
So, well, my ultimate goal is to, if I'm accepted, go through all 4 levels.
Wow. So that's like a year. Oh my goodness.
And if I continue to love it here and feel connected, there are a lot more veterinary technician opportunities down here than there are in Oregon, and I like the weather here. I understand the true test will be summer.
Yes, especially your first summer because your blood has to thin out before you can breathe here through in August.
So I may just continue working as a volunteer and finding a veterinary technician.
Oh, that would be wonderful.
Position.
Have you talked to Dr. Justin at all about ACT?
So
Animal Coalition of Tampa.
So is that where he works?
Yeah.
Or I have a little bit, and he did say, talk to me when you're done.
Yeah, because they have a lot of technicians. I don't know how on earth they can afford all of the technicians they have on staff for that facility.
He was describing that to me about how many technicians, the amount of surgeries he does is incredible.
Yes.
That he was describing the amount of technicians that he had, some, just for medicating and just for anesthesia and just for preparation and just for recovery and just for monitoring, and I was, wow.
Yeah, it's a lot. And, I only go down there when we have to take a bobcat or something that for some reason Dr. Wynn can't handle because she's not around. And so I've only been there a couple of times, but when I go down there, I notice that there's just an awful lot of mostly young women just standing around. They've got nothing to do. If I ran that place, I would just be pulling my hair out at people standing around. So I think they'd be thrilled to have somebody of your maturity and your willingness to work. You could probably replace 4 of them at least.
Yeah, I am. What standing around bothers me. I mean, even while we're waiting for instructions, sometimes I'll start cleaning. And of course, sometimes towards the end of the day, I have a feeling if I sat down, I might not get up. So.
Yes, I know what that's like.
But as far as my age and doing this physical work, I actually feel younger. I think probably a combination between the climate change and the just constantly moving and physical work. I haven't had any knee problems, haven't had any shoulder problems, and I had a little bit of both when I was not anything that would keep me from doing what I'm doing, but I'd have a little bit of ouch factor sometimes when I'd be done with my day or with my workout. Haven't had any of that here.
I think a lot of that has to do with doing something you love. You don't feel it so much. I know if I get really into something, the whole day will be gone, and all of a sudden I'm like, wow, did I go down a rabbit hole or what? I didn't think about eating, I didn't think about anything, I just was so focused on it. It can easily be that way. So I'm glad to hear that you're planning on coming back for 4 levels. That's wonderful. We'll have to come up with a level 5.
Oh, awesome. I love it.
That's a huge commitment, though, and I brag about our interns all the time to people because you guys only get a a very small stipend for food. So it means when you're giving up 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months of your life, that's pretty much going without a paycheck for that entire period of time, and yet you've still probably got insurance costs and car costs and all of those kinds of expenses. How did you do that?
So I am very fortunate that I've got family willing to help. And actually, when I was a student, my family was helping me more because I had a side job as a cat groomer, which wasn't bringing a lot after I lost my veterinary technician job. I was laid off from there. And so between financial aid, I had financial aid, and family was helping me with that too. And so it actually was a little bit of a financial relief for my family that was helping to not be paying rent and cable bill and all of that stuff. And you had a little bit of savings, which is dwindling slowly, but I should get into income tax pretty soon. But I've never really been one of these. There's been times where I've wanted a lot of money, but I've not needed a lot, and I certainly don't need a lot here, just mainly for food and my cell phone bill, because I'm perfectly happy coming here, working, coming home, watching TV for a little bit, and then going to bed.
I would think the cost of living here is probably less than Oregon as well.
It's much less. Actually, veterinary tech work wasn't sustainable for me as a single person in Central Oregon either, because it's a pretty expensive cost of living, pretty high there.
Just about anywhere for a single person. I think it's just the tables are stacked against a single person being able to live the same quality of, when I say quality, I mean financial quality of life, as people that are pooling their money. And so you're seeing an awful lot of families that are kind of like all moving back in together again because it's just harder and harder.
Exactly.
You just moved in with a bunch of non-family and made them family.
Exactly.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So, and then I've also, family and friends are taking care of my cats for me too while I'm
How nice is that? How many cats?
8.
That's a lot of cats for them to take care of.
That is. My mother, God bless her, has 5 of them, and then the other 3 are divided with 3 other people. And all of them were like quote unquote throwaways or rescue, or ones that you couldn't adopt from the Humane Society, special needs. I've got a couple that are missing limbs. One's totally deaf. A couple of them have autoimmune things going on. So that my mother, like I said, has been willing to take care of.
That's wonderful. Obviously, you got your animal loving instincts from her, at least.
Actually, it was my dad.
Really?
It was my dad. My mom grew up on a farm, and their animals were to work. They weren't pets. And so it's kind of taken her a while to warm up to some of them, but I don't know that she'd admit it, but I think she's really kind of attached herself to a couple of my cats.
They're the grandbabies now.
Yeah, that's all the grandbabies they're going to get from me.
They're the best kind.
Exactly.
You never have to put them through college.
And for my birthday, she sent me a birthday card with a paw print of each of the cats.
Oh,
so, yeah,
that took some doing.
Yeah.
Wow. One of the things that we've been doing is trying to buy up all of the land around us that we can. And we've bought, the pieces that I just told you about, but then we also bought a lot further down on North Meadowview and then another one on South Meadowview. And I can divide each one of those into 2 lots and put mobile homes on each one of those. And what Jamie suggested that I do, that I thought, man, this is genius. So many of our interns end up moving to Tampa just so that they can continue to volunteer with the cats. And she said, they're all struggling because most of them are single and they're moving here with their pets and everything, and they just can't find any place to go. That what we should do is set those up as group homes where people rent out their room and have their own pets and everything, and as long as they're paying their rent and volunteering here, then they could stay there. And I think that would probably be a really good use of that space.
Genius idea.
It's kind of like a halfway home until you kind of build up your resources and can get your own place. So I hope to be able to do that. We just put the first down payment yesterday on the 7-bedroom unit that we're going to put right there in the corner.
Wow.
Where that, I don't know if you saw where that trailer had burned down over in the corner next to the trail.
Oh, yes, I did. I was skating by that for exercise one day, and I kind of I didn't realize that was what you were buying. But
Do you rollerblade too?
I did roller derby for 3 years, so
that's right.
My skates were one thing I brought. So, and that was, I think I put something on my Facebook. I loved it. I was skating around the Meadowview Circle, and I could hear lions roaring in the background.
I've never tried skating on that. Is it a good enough surface, or is it too bumpy?
It's a little bit bumpy. I have special outdoor wheels that kind of pick up some of the gravel. They don't pick it up and keep it, but they're softer so that you don't hit gravel and go flying.
I used to rollerblade every day on the trail, and I haven't done it in probably 6 months. And the last time, well, not the last time, I made myself get back up on that horse, but I fell and knocked the wind out of myself. And I'd never knocked the wind out of my lungs before, and didn't realize
scary.
It is. It's you can't breathe. I couldn't say anything. I was just horrified by that. I thought, this is really stupid for me to be doing this. But I should go back to it because I have a helmet now, so at least I won't crack my head open if I fall.
I skate with we should go skating sometime.
Yes.
Except I have quads. Quads are 2 and 2 instead of the blades. Yeah.
I didn't know they made those anymore.
For roller derby, yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
We used to have a girl here that did roller derby all the time. She was on the volunteer committee for a long time. Now I can't think of her name. Probably anybody in food prep, though, that has been around a while would remember her name. I don't know why she stopped coming out. Hope she didn't get hurt in roller derby. That's a tough sport. You don't strike me as the roller derby type now that I'm thinking about it.
Well, there's 2 types of roller derby. There's the renegades, and that's the no holds barred. That's the ones that we grew up when we were little seeing on TV, where they'd pile up on top of each other and beat each other up. And then there's flat track, and there's very strict rules. Very strict rules as to where you can hit people, how you hit them. No hitting the face, no hitting the back, no tripping people. So it really is a skill, and you have to actually skate for quite a while with the league before you can try out with the flat track.
Wow.
Derby, and they're actually trying to make it an Olympic sport.
Well, if curling is an Olympic sport, my goodness, what is that?
I still don't understand that one.
This year was the first time I'd ever seen that. I kept watching it, thinking, what are they going to do? It totally escaped me. Is undercover work something that you see yourself doing much of, or is that just too hard to bear?
I absolutely love it. I hope I don't sound morbid, but because I hate going into those places and giving them money, but at the same time, I love going in there and playing detective and asking the questions and noticing what's going on in the surroundings and listening to people in the backgrounds. When I went for the second time to that place in Oregon, actually the owner was there.
Wow.
Interestingly enough, and I pretended to be looking at the cats while I was listening to him interview a potential employee. And interestingly enough, and it was also something I noted in my letter to the USDA, was that there was nothing at all brought up about animal husbandry or knowing anything about animals or knowing anything about people's animal care. It was all about bringing people in.
Mm.
And how to get people and how to collect money, and it broke my heart, and I really want to stop people like that. So, and then I was with the group that went to the fairgrounds,
Oh, good for you.
and as sick as it made me again, I think it's necessary to go in there and get a good close look at that and talk to those people. And
good.
my acting ability does allow me to go in there and keep the straight face and then go back to the parking lot and cry.
It is hard. And I think the most heartbreaking thing is knowing that when you see something like that, the very most that we can do is write a letter. I mean, what you want to do is grab the cub and run.
Exactly.
We just can't do that. And so it really is difficult to be the one having to document the abuse and then hand it over to the authorities, knowing how difficult it is to get them to take any kind of action. But it takes repeated reports, and so that's why it's so important to keep doing it. I'm not saying that it's not worthy of our time. I think it's very worthy of our time. It's just hard on the person doing it.
So, yeah, it is. And I went on the way down, I told Sue, I said, at the risk of sounding awful, I said, I have had acting experience because nobody wanted to touch the cub. And, I said, because I'm a veterinary technician, not only can I touch it and kind of feel for the health of the animal and the fur texture, but I said, I can keep a straight face and touch the cub if you need somebody to do that.
Wow.
So. It is very difficult, and you feel icky doing it, and I wanted to take a shower after I left that place.
Well, for good reason, because most of those cubs seem to be carrying ringworm.
But, yeah, it is something I'm very interested in doing and continuing to doing. Like you said, it takes over and over again to have effect, but sooner or later, hopefully, we do.
Yes. I wrote a letter today to a woman that I met back in the 90s, and back then she probably had 100 big cats, and I don't know how many big cats she's got now, but I know there's still a bunch of them there. And I've just gotten so many reports, so many horrific reports about things that are happening there. And so her phone is disconnected. I don't have an email address for her that works, so the only thing I've got is a handwritten letter to send to her. But that's the kind of situation where, in her case, she's lost her USDA license. She was grandfathered in before they had any kind of state license requirements, so she wouldn't be able to get more animals, but they won't take away the ones that she has.
That's terrible.
And so the only recourse I have is to try and reason with a crazy person to see if she will give them up. And it's just gut-wrenching. But it's only going to happen if we keep trying and keep making those reports and keep educating ourselves about the situations. So I'm so glad to have you on our team and have you taking care of our cats here and have you educating our guests when they come in, being all that you are to our other interns and our other volunteers. Thank you so much.
Oh, well, I am absolutely thrilled to be here. I tell people ask me how I like it, and I feel like I'm in a dream that I haven't woken up yet. I'm absolutely thrilled and honored to be here and to have finally gotten to meet you. I mean, I could care less about movie stars and celebrities, but people like you were a true hero to me, seriously.
Oh, that's so sweet of you.
And so I'm thrilled to be here, and I would say to other people my age, don't sell yourself short, because if you want to come here to Big Cat Rescue and intern, do it. It's, an amazing experience, and you're never too old to live your dream.
And that is a wonderful place to end this. We're at an hour. I bet you never dreamed you'd be able to talk for an hour. So join us again on the catchatshow.com. You can find us on iTunes or Stitcher Radio. If you go to bigcatrescue.org, over on the right-hand side, just click on Cat Chat, and you can see all of our previous episodes. See you next week. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.